This is the Regular Magazine, and I'm Jason, and in this video we're going to take a quick look at the forthcoming game from Victrix Miniatures called Pillage. Now, Pillage is a narrative-driven skirmish game set during the Viking period, an early medieval, where every battle tells a story. So, will you defend your people and their treasures from raiders, or raid enemy lands, loot and steal their riches, or burn everything in your path? Pillage puts you in the heart of the action. Climb, swim, fight, make every decision count. So, Pillage combines fast-paced gameplay with cinematic narrative moments, allowing players to engage in various activities from climbing towers, diving into rivers, rescuing civilians, or setting buildings on fire. Each game experience is unique. The game emphasizes storytelling, terrain and object-based play. It enables miniatures to take on roles such as heroes, cowards, and legends within the game's narrative. The system is designed to recreate those historical battles that are focused on raiding and pillaging, that also includes burning villages, capturing loot, slaves, adapting strategies to the weather conditions, and embarking on longships or defending relics from invaders. The game covers the period from 793 AD and that first Viking raid on Lindisfarne Abbey, and it takes us right up to the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and the Norman invasion of Britain. But the rules can also be adapted to conflicts from antiquity right through to the end of the medieval period. It explores an era of upheaval and conquest where kingdoms are formed through warfare, raiders attack unpredictably, and glory involves securing a place of honour. Now, the average game takes about 1 to 2 hours. Table size is 48 inches by 48 inches, and roughly anywhere between 15 to 30 miniatures per side. Now, base sizes: infantry is 25mm round base, and cavalry is a 40mm round base, or 25 by 50 will also work. Now, this game is designed for both new and veteran players. Pillage operates through alternating action phases where both players sequentially move, shoot, and then engage in combat. The rules are pretty concise yet comprehensive, encompassing nearly every action that Vikings, Normans, Bretons, or Welsh might wish to perform. This system of alternating actions ensures continuous engagement for all the participants and necessitates meticulous planning due to the potential shifts in initiative between holding, gaining, and losing. So we're just going to quickly look at some of the phases. As the initiative phase, this is where players will roll off and the winner decides who goes first. Winning doesn't necessarily mean you have to go first. You could pass that over to your opponent. The next is movement. A player moves their models followed by player B. It's pretty simple where movement and terrain rules also apply. One thing to note is things like roads will enhance movement, make you go faster or further. Charges can occur during movement phase. The player selects the model that they want to charge and the target without pre-measuring any distances. Charging model will roll for the charge, and if the total movement is sufficient, the charge is successful. If not, the model will only move half the distance rolled. Then we have shooting range, which is range. Shooting is pretty simple, and will be familiar to anyone that's played GW games. You declare your target, check line of sight and range, then make a target roll. If there are any obstacles such as other models, hedges, walls are in the way, you roll for each of those. The next is the melee phase. Melee rolls are similar to range rolls, with all attacks happening simultaneously. Now, if you're charging your opponent, that will give you a +1 in the next melee. Special rules will also include for your shield, say for +1 for defense and stuff like that. And then there is a fire phase. This phase involves actual fire, not the use of gunpowder weapons or anything like that, because they didn't exist. The player with initiative that lights a fire first, followed by their opponents. During this phase, the fire will then spread. So it's not a case you set fire and that's it. As the game turns continue, the fire will continue to spread. So in Pillage, you control individual models rather than units. Group interactions like shield wall, melee, and support roles are clearly defined, focusing on one-to-one combat. The game is driven by its story, by the narrative. Players can find objects, break into cattle pens and take the livestock, or search buildings for several turns, taking care if they catch fire. Moving with loot is realistic, as players need to pick it up, and they can lose it in a melee, or it can be handed off to someone else to take to the ships. Besides these rules, and besides the actual game, Victrix are also going to be releasing a lot of miniatures to go alongside it. And that's what we're going to look at next. So with the initial release of the rulebook for Pillage, Victrix also plan to release 4 warbands. Now, these won't be the only warbands they release for the game, but for this initial release of the book, these are what they're going to release. A Viking warband, a Saxon warband, Norman warband, and a Russ warband. Now, these are made up from their existing miniature range. So, for instance, if we looked at the Norman warband, it's not just plain infantry that you get in there. You get 6 command figures, 8 armoured infantry, 8 unarmoured infantry, and 4 mounted knights, and then some Norman crossbow. So you get, each of these warbands will give you a mixture. Now, obviously, things like the Vikings and the Saxons don't have cavalry, but they do have unarmoured, armoured troops, and as well as bowmen. They do plan, like I said, to bring out further warbands, and those include the Irish, Dark Age Irish, and they're also bringing out Scots and Picts, and they're also planning to bring out the Carolingians. Those are going to be future warband releases. The Irish will actually contain the Irish dogs, wolfhounds, in there. They're also going to be releasing a set of farm animals, so that there are livestock on the table for you to actually steal. And as well as that, there was also going to be what they're calling a box of Dark Age and medieval accessories, which looks to contain like tables, plateware, food stores, barrels, goods, the sorts of things that you would expect to be looted. So there are objects you can place within your village, which then you're, as the raider, can actually steal or attempt to steal. So that's what we know so far about the game. There are also some free downloads on the website. There's a couple of items in which to download. One is a supplement which looks at the East Europe. So it looks at the Rus and Byzantine factions and stuff like that. So we may see at a later date Byzantine troops, warband. There's also quick reference guides on there. There's some FAQs, and there's some small supplements to download for sheep and beehives and how they can interact on the table. I'm guessing without looking too much into how they become obstacles, how like a beehive, if a beehive breaks open, how that will affect any of the combatants nearby, obviously because the bees would attack, that sort of thing. So you've got rules for those sorts of things to go on the tabletop, and it kind of makes it, when you start looking at things like this and at the fire rules and stuff like that, it's looking like it could be quite an interesting game to play. Really fun narrative game. It's not something that's been designed with a tournament in mind. Like a lot of games these days tend to have because there are big tournament scenes around certain games, they tend to sort of, I feel anyway, that they funnel towards tournament play rather than narrative play. And whereas this seems to be the opposite. It's looking like it is geared very much towards a narrative play style of game, which I quite enjoy. And it's skirmish. It doesn't need a lot. It's 15 to 30 models on a table per side. So one warband, you pick up one warband, and that should be sufficient for that particular faction. So you could pick up more than one faction and play more than one faction. It's great. It's not like you're having to invest a huge amount into an army. You're picking up one warband. And the prices for those warbands on Victrix are about the £40 to £45 mark, depending on which one it is. Now, if you've already got Viking troops, Saxons, you're one of people like me that play Saga, I don't really need to go out and buy a huge amount of miniatures to get up and start playing the game once I get a hold of the rulebook. But if not, it's not, your initial investment is going to be the rulebook and one faction. So the rulebook, I think, is coming in at about £30-something, about 35. A warband about 40. So you're looking at, to play the game, sort of around the £70 to £80 mark. Obviously, if you don't have terrain, you're going to have to invest or play down a club where there's terrain. But initial investment, it's not a big, huge amount for you to be playing. So that's Pillage. Once I get hold of the rulebook, I'll do a bit more in-depth look at the rulebook. I'll try and pick up some of the miniatures from Victrix. I'll also do a thing of where I'll look at some alternatives. So you've also got like Wargames Atlantic. They also do Dark Age miniatures, plastics. And obviously Grip and Beast, the Saga, they do a lot of Dark Age stuff as well. So it looks like they've got quite a lot of plans for the game in going forward. But in that, like I said, in that initial release, we're going to get the rulebook and the 4 sort of main factions, so sort of the Vikings, Saxons, Normans, and Russ. Anyway, that's all for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you next time.